And you've been calling for a deal all along, haven't you?
We expected it. I mean, first you've got to separate the politics from the economic reality. The politics is Merkel is being set up for a September election. She needed to talk tough. The economic reality is we've done so much heavy lifting, keeping the Eurozone together. Why would you let Cyprus at 0.2% of regional GDP take it down the toilet?
Yeah.
They're going to step up and get something done.
Yeah. So what about the details here? We're hearing that Cyprus Popular Bank, or Laiki as its nickname, it's going to be wound down, and then the good parts of that bank will then be amalgamated into the largest Bank of Cyprus. I guess this entity is that good for depositors?
It's the only solution they had, which was basically go good bank, bad bank, which is ultimately the way out of most of these troubles.
Yep.
But I think it begs the larger question, which is when is Europe going to get back to this idea of a banking union? In other words, they've got to harmonize standards, protect depositors, and basically get this thing together. And that's what they're starting to work on now. And I think it's a good first step.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about this deal then? Because Bank of Cyprus, some would say, the reason why it's being kept as it is and taking the good parts of the second largest bank is because it has such good affiliations with the establishment. And also, most of the Russian money is in the Bank of Cyprus. So aren't you protecting foreign investors?
Well, I mean, that's the problem. And that's where Cyprus has to step up, because what you've got to do is you've got to protect insured depositors. That has to be sacred. That means the Cypriot people. Offshore banking, and this is where the complaint comes from the Germans, and rightly so, offshore bank deposits are probably not protected under these agreements. So as a result, I think you're going to see them start to go after those offshore deposits and protect the small Cypriot depositor, which is consistent with the European Union.
Yeah, so it looks like the deposits below 100,000 euros will be protected, but we don't know yet in this tentative deal what the hit will be on depositors as a whole. I mean, do they still have to pay up if you have less than 100,000 euros?
Yeah, there'll be some haircut there, both from the depositors and from the creditors. But ultimately, the Europeans understand that you got to get a deal in Cyprus, because the real problems will flow right back into the northern European banks, and you'll start to have bobbles there. That's the real risk.
Couldn't they have seen these problems coming? I mean, Cyprus is an economy that's banking industry is 750% of GDP. That's twice the Eurozone average. I mean, you could even tell that a crisis was on the horizon if something bad went wrong, right?
A crisis was on the horizon, Susan, in 2004 when they let Cyprus into the European Union. They all knew it was a problem, and that's why they were trying to harmonize the banking model. The Cypriots decided to snub it and go ahead and continue on with their offshore banking model. That has to change if they want to stay in the euro.
Right, okay, but also people say that this Cypriot issue stems from Greece. So this is the domino effect that we're seeing. And across Europe, given that there are some pretty large economies out there, isn't this only the beginning? I mean, could we be at risk of another crisis like this, a bigger one blowing up this year or the next few years?
You'll continue to have pressure on the bank's balance sheets because they're holding sovereign debt of the peripheral countries. That's exactly why the deal got done, because they don't want the Cypriot problems to blow back right back into the northern European banks who are still holding some of this debt. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So I guess given this tentative deal, do you get back into the markets? Because some say that this was really just an excuse to take some money off the table, cap some profits, and then hold on for a better entry point to make more money in the future.
Well, I think one thing is important here is that macro was not dormant. It was just taking a small nap. So we rebalanced risk and reward, which is critical. But I also think it was a buying opportunity because growth is still pretty good and things are improving. So my guess is you still have a very good first half of the year in the markets.
Okay, so and be in equities, right? That's the place.
Yeah, be in equities for now. I mean, for now.
Again, for 6 months of the year.
Until you see growth start to falter, then you've got to be concerned.
This deal took place at dinner between Draghi was there and Christine Lagarde, this Troika, as we call it, Van Rompuy as well.
Yeah, and this deal is significant, Susan. It's a tentative deal at this stage. Let's go through the details of what we know. First off, if they approve it, the headline is that Cyprus avoids bankruptcy and the first Eurozone exit. Here are the elements of it. The deal is said to protect small depositors in that country. It would close Cyprus Popular Bank. That was the loss leader in terms of troubled banks in the country. The good bank, the good elements of Cyprus Popular would be taken on by Bank of Cyprus.
Right.
That bank will remain open. Its uninsured deposit loss will be under 40%, according to a European official. Now, the deal does not necessarily specify a hit on depositors. One of the sticking points here, of course, was whether those high net worth people, the ones who invested a lot of money in the country and have a high level of bank deposits should be taxed at a higher amount, a higher level. The EU officials, the Troika, had demanded that from Cyprus. Russia, of course, a major factor in this. Russia is the biggest investor in Cyprus. There are many high net worth Russian individuals who put their money in that banking system. Now, the banking system reform is also another key element. Remember, this whole crisis came about because of the government's fiscal issues, but the fact that these banks, well, their assets simply had grown too large, 750% of total GDP, which was double the Eurozone. But Susan, it looks like crisis avoided, or at least an exit for Cyprus. This is a tentative deal, though. It is being presented to the Eurogroup.
Correct.
Markets responding. We see the euro up. We see commodities moving, currencies across the board, the Aussie, the Kiwi, the risk equation certainly moving.
That's right. You're right. It is a tentative deal because we still have that deadline of March 25th midnight, and they need to get this deal approved by all parties. The Troika and Cyprus so far in agreement, but let's see how the EU finance ministers, the rest of them, take it as well. But you're saying that this has avoided collapse, but for the average Cypriot, you're still waiting in line for your ATM, and you can only now get 100 euros out per withdrawal. So it doesn't feel like you have a deal in place just yet.
Well, the banks are set to reopen tomorrow, March 26th, in that country, and the concern is that there would be a run on the banks. Now, perhaps news of this deal will avoid that, but they were going to institute, perhaps still will, capital controls, strict controls on withdrawing or transferring money out of the country to prevent that run on the banks. This avoidance, essentially, of bankruptcy means the banking system does not collapse. If they approve the deal, we'll see if that happens. Those meetings in Brussels continuing. Again, the headline, tentative deal struck at dinner just in the past hours.
And Tom, what's the reaction there?
Well, just about 20 minutes ago, the Parliament Speaker came out and told us, after more than 7 hours of waiting out here in the Presidential Mansion, that they have a deal that they're going to present, a tentative deal they're going to present to the Eurogroup. He didn't really get into details, so it'll be interesting to see what the details that surface. We know that the big bone of contention is what's going to happen to Bank of Cyprus, which is the largest bank in Cyprus, whether it was going to be how much there was of a deposit levy was going to be put on these deposits over 100,000, what size it would be, what size the whole banking sector in Cyprus. So a lot of details we're expecting to get to hear about in the next half hour. Like I said, very vague statement that a tentative deal will be presented to the Eurogroup in the next little while.
Yeah.
And now,
Tom, just to
party leaders.
Yeah, just to get you updated on some of these headlines coming through, Tom, this tentative deal, it doesn't specify the hit that depositors will take, or they might not have to take any hits, but what do you think will be accepted by the average Cypriot, and what do you think won't be?
Well, definitely there's been a really strong reaction to the decision on Cyprus Popular, which is the country's second largest bank. A lot of the banking union, the employees' banking union, has been staging daily protests, saying there's going to be lots of jobs lost, and really blaming the Eurozone members, saying that Cyprus is being treated unfairly. So, depending on the details of this agreement that's presented, that's what we'll be watching tomorrow, is how Cypriots see this deal, if they see it as a fair deal. What we've been hearing all week is that they don't think they've been given a fair shake, or they've been treated like a Euro member, like an equal Euro member. So it's been a kind of a very negative feeling towards the Eurozone in the last week here. So once these details come out, we're definitely going to keep an eye on the reaction to the deal by the normal just a regular Cypriot citizens. And then obviously tomorrow's a national holiday in Cyprus, so Tuesday we'll see if the banks open, if this deal does get approved, and if the banks open, see what kinds of scenes we see at the country's banks.